Notice, there's a decline in excitatory synapses. That's the reason why children are excited. They want to do all these things at this age. Okay, and then it starts to calm down. And when they adolescent, they become to calm down because the inhibitory synapses are increasing. And this myelination, inhibitory synapse, and other process do not complete until the age of 30 to 35. So we are not fully adult until 30 or 35. Okay? My point is this. We celebrate 18 years of age. Right? Remember? 18 years. Yes, 18, you're 18. But you are not yet fully adult. And especially 35 years is reached with men, 30 years with female. Female are more mature than male. That's the reason why people who are older gets on well with female who are a bit younger. Never in the same age. Because the mind are not the same. We male are retarded in development. You understanding me? So, and so that's the reason why when girls, especially like 15, they will not prefer a 15-year-old boy. They will prefer 20 years old or so forth. Because it's their mind is much advanced. Because they develop much faster than we do. That's ladies. Okay? So, again, my point is this. When people are marrying at 16, 17, 18, they're still very young. They're not that adult. And there's many changes that can take place. We can go through that later on if we have more time. So here it is. Birth. After birth, there is a sensory period. You know, even before birth, I mean, you know already, those are mothers. We have a sister who just gave birth. When she was pregnant, you can see the feet on the belly, right? And you can scratch that like this, and the baby feels it. They retract. Because there's already a sensory system. You can sing them songs, and they will hear you. In fact, when you have a child whom you want to train at even in the womb, when you're pregnant and you want the child to know when bedtime is, as you're pregnant, you can already sing songs. It says, you can sing songs like, "Thank you, Lord, for saving my soul. Thank you, Lord." And you do that in the womb when you are resting. Guess what? When the child comes out, and when you do that, it already knows the song. Because they heard it. And they know it associate to resting or relaxing. So you can like I said, you can already pre-program this kind of thing. You can make it. I wish I had known this when I was, but I was, you see, I was not at the time. That's why I communicate. I'm very passionate to communicate because it helps parenthood. Okay, so now, sensory is developing. Sensory is what? Hearing, seeing, touching, taste, balance, all the other senses, okay? So these are the sensory system being developed in the infrared. And it starts already before birth, and it peaks and reaches around 2 years old, 3 years old. And it starts to go down because it's already developed. Now, guess what? Before that is motor language. Motor and language. You know, when a child throws something the first time, they will throw it that way, but the rock goes that way. Right? A child, before it learns to run, it will have to walk and fall many times. We don't want our children to fall, right? But without falling, they cannot run. They cannot even walk. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We prevent, but in the end, in order for them to walk and run, they must fall. Because these are all the calibration. Your brain is calibrating all the movement, the actions. Okay, that's done by the brain. It calibrates everything. So it's and language too. So this is developed. Okay, it starts at about, da, da, da. They speak da, da, and before you know it becomes words. Okay, so it peaks. Only after that is the higher cognition. Higher cognition. Okay, so now I have a question, and I have addressed this to our educators, to our to the educational system, and they could never give me a sufficient answer. I have always asked them, why do we send our children to school at the age of 3? Maybe not here in Malawi, but in the West, already at 2, 3, they're going to school. Why? When the brain is not yet ready until 7. Okay? So why? You see, you need to understand, when a child is brought to school to sit down, and their brain says, run. What do? The brain is developing for moving, running, and you're telling a child, sit still and read. It's not yet there. You see, it's not. We are telling a child to do something that doesn't follow the brain development. And when we do that, doesn't follow the brain development, it suppresses the child's creativity and cognitive learning later in life. And not also that, it affects their mental health. That is the reason why today we have more child psychologists, child psychiatrists than ever before. I don't know how it is in Malawi, but the more you introduce this early schooling, the more you will have a problem. Because, okay, put it this way. A child's safety, security is in the home with the mother. Even cheetahs, even leopards, even lion knows that. When their mother is away hunting and they're left in the savannah on their own, they are stressed. Even animals know that. Now what do? We take our child and send them to school. It's a hostile environment for them. It's not safety. All these children, all these people, I don't know them. And we say, well, they get used to it. But what happens is this. We create what we call in the brain oxidative stress. These are increases microinflammation in the brain. That has an effect later in life. Depression, psychosis, ADHD, autism, all the others that comes with it. Schizophrenia, and other mental illnesses. Nervous breakdown. I mean, can you believe children today are committing suicide more now than ever before? Yes. I mean, why would a child commit suicide? Yes. It's the best time of their life. But it's a best time only. Remember what I said? When the law in which they're governed is obeyed. When we are following the law of the brain. Because we're created for that. The moment you violate that, there's consequence. And some are irreversible. So this is from Takao Hench. I work with him, and actually, if we are still here in this world, I say if, because I don't believe we will still be here in the next 10 years. But if we are still here in the next 10 years, the way the world is going, I am telling you, the way the world is going, this world is spinning out of control. But anyway, if we are here in the next 10 years, watch out for his name. His name is Takao Hench. I believe he will be a Nobel Prize winner. And I worked with him. We have 3 papers together. And when I showed him this quote, this one, the heart of the youth are not like impressible wax. Now, I lead them to, but in a few years may become like granite. I showed it to him in 2010. And he came back to me and says, where did you get this from? And I told him, you won't believe me if I tell you. And he said, come on, tell me. Where did you get it from? And I told him, you won't believe me if I tell you. And so he said to me, just tell me, come on. And I told him, you will not believe me if I tell you. And I said, are you going to tell me? I said, okay, here it is. I told him it was written in 1890. And he said, I don't believe you. That's what I said to you. That's what I told you. You will not believe me if I tell you. I says, well, so I got the book and gave it to him. And he was puzzled by it. He was puzzled by it that in some years, I'll show you, I'm not sure if it's in this study, but after reading that book, he incorporated some of those things and put it in his study. But anyway, so here it is. Okay? These are the different developmental period. You have a neurogenesis, you have neural migration, gliogenesis, synaptogenesis, myelination, synaptic pruning. So here it is. Basically, it's the beginning of neurons. The neurons are born. This is when the neurons are born at one place, but they migrate to another place. It's like the Chinese. They're born in China, but they migrate to Malawi to build your, your highways and your infrastructure. It's like they migrate. The neurons migrate. They're born in one place, but they go to another place to fulfill its function. Okay, it's called migration. The question now you ask me is, how do they know where to go? There are guiding mechanisms, molecular signalings, neurotransmitters, all happening very specific. It's like going to, if you want to go to Switzerland, all right? There is no direct flight, most likely. You will have to pass by Addis Ababa, okay? And then, or another country, South Africa, or so forth. It's like that. The destination is there, but you go from one place to another place. If you miss the connection flight, guess what happens? That you're stranded. It's the same thing with neurons. It gets from one place and there's a signaling at that time, then you go to the next one. When you miss that, that's it. It's too late. Okay? It's very time specific. So now, look at autism. These are the different psychiatric illnesses that we have today. Scientists are now discovering that these deficits in different period of development leads to this different kind of psychiatric illness. Why? Because major depressive disorder, bipolar depressors are much later in life. They do not begin at young age. They always begin they begin certain things, but their average age is 25, for example, 32, schizophrenia 22, anxiety disorders 11. You know, this anxiety and panic attack is not the same. This is attentional deficit disorders. This is autism spectrum disorders. Now believe that there are problems that are specifically taking place that leads to that, depending on different time of development. So here's binocular. You know, each and every one of us here has a dominant eye, but you don't even know. Okay, you know what the dominant eye is? A dominant eye is the eye that you often use. Okay, you probably get it. You know it when you have an eye test. Sometimes your optometrist will tell you, you have -5 on one and -1 on the other. Okay, so now it's interesting. You can shift the dominant eye to the other eye, but only at specific age. That's the reason there are people who have, children that are born with one eye that is out. It's called strabismus, lazy eyes. Okay? It's because the lazy eye, the brain is ignoring it. Okay? The brain is only accepting the input. It doesn't mean it doesn't see. It sees, but the brain does not consider what it sees. It's only because of the dominant eye, it's in the one that is focused. Now, to correct that, you close the dominant eye, such that this lazy eye will be used rightly. That's why children, when they are born with different, eye line of sight, they cover the dominant eye, okay, for a certain time to correct it. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. You weaken it. Okay, but that only takes place at a certain age. After 12 years old, you're done. You cannot correct that anymore. It's the same for music. I can prime your music preference by exposing you to a certain type of music at a young age. And when you get old, you will have a preference for that. Okay? So now, I'm telling you, I'm using the visual and the auditory because this has a very important role in marketing. Okay, I don't know, maybe some of you are in business world, marketing, and also increasing purchase and increased spending. This is one reason why you can go to a mall, especially when you go to Switzerland or America or some places outside Malawi, when those big malls and everything, you go in and you come out of there and you bought this thing, you get home and finally you ask yourself, why did I buy this? Yes or no? Okay? How many of you went somewhere, bought it, you didn't plan on buying it, but you bought it? Okay? And after buying it, you get home, you ask yourself, why did I buy this? I don't know, I've been guilty of it. And most of us have, at one point or another. Then you have to ask yourself, why? How did that happen? Okay? Okay, I can tell you something. Science has shown, for example, that you only need to see 28 times something in one day to want it at the end of the day. 28 times. That's why advertisement works. That's why billboard works. Okay, science has demonstrated you only need to see something 28 times. I'm not talking about seeing like a blink. I'm talking about seeing for maybe a few seconds. Okay? You need to see it 28 times, and after seeing that in one day, okay, you will want it. It's called suggestive marketing. Okay? So now, if you have a business, for example, whatever that is, and you align that product that people can see it on t-shirts. You know, sometimes people sponsors shirts with their whatever company or something, a logo. Okay, and you get them walking on the street where you know your market target is. By the end of the day, those people walking on the street, someone will know that and says, what is this? I want it. Where do I get it? Okay? That's the reason why, you know, for example, sportswear. Okay? Sportswear. You watch tennis. For example, right now, Roland Garros tennis? I have no idea. But, you know, tennis. And you will find that these tennis players have a brand. They wear the Nike brand, Uniqlo brand, or Under Armour brand. Okay? And when they wear that, they get paid for it. You know, they don't buy it. They get it free. A match that they played, the company will give them, take whatever you want. Because you are on TV for the next hour. Okay? And it's very silent. I mean, you see Roger Federer, you see these guys, pack. But on the camera, Uniqlo, pack. Nike, pack. That's visible to people. And people will want Nike, especially what they're wearing at the end of the day. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, they call it. They have their own brand because they are on prime spot at all times. They always have the ball. And when they have the ball and when they fly in the air, what do they see? They see the product. Michael Air Jordan. Right? You see it. And at the end, they want it. Why? Because again, you only need to see it. So for example, you have 44 something, 44 hotel. I'm just giving an example. Already, if you want somebody to stay there, find somebody at the airport. When the moment they land, give a t-shirt to somebody working at the airport. Or somebody there, I don't know, someone. Or having them on a wall or something will cost a lot. But giving something to somebody, you don't even have to pay them. You're giving them for free. And they see it at the airport. Okay? Then finally, this person who saw it at the airport goes into this is inside the airport, and goes into the car park, and you see somebody there ticketing or whatever, wearing the same thing, 44 hotel. Okay? You leave that place and you drive to town and you see people while walking with 44 hotel. They begin to wonder, what is this about? I want to see what it is. You understanding me? So I'm just telling you, the brain is it absorbs everything. And that is why you will have this notion to yourself. You will ask yourself, I've seen this before. Can't remember where, but I've seen it. Yes or no? Right? It's because the brain absorbs everything, all the information. And the more the person sees that, the more the person is exposed to that, the more it's embedded. And what's embedded, when they see it, I know that place. Okay? When I know the place, I want to see that place. I want to be in that place. This is a free tips for those of you. Go ahead.
Previous slide?
Yes. This one?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I'm going to skip this because there's a lot of science into that. Okay, this is what, as I told you, I read that quote, Fundamentals of Christian Education 51. I wanted to know the difference between a young and the old. I decided we'll write a grant to the Swiss government, and they gave us 300,000 Swiss francs. So 300,000 Swiss francs is about 400,000 US dollars. So I'm trying to 4 times 3, 6. Oh, I don't know. What is that? 1.9. That's at 1.4 billion kwacha. The government gave me and the people I 1.4 billion kwacha to study something that God has put in His Word. And that's what we discovered. The juvenile and an adult. The difference. Okay? That's published in the Proceeding of National Academy of Science, and that's in 2013. And in 2015, I received the Youngest Investigator Award in Switzerland, one of the highest awards for young people. I was not young, I'm already, but it's still young considered to them. The Youngest Investigator Award for this finding. So they recognized it. And it is interesting because it's not me, because I'm not a genius. It is found in the spirit of prophecy. That's just my point. That's why I entitled this presentation, The Head and Not the Tail. Because God gives us foreknowledge in His Word and in the testimonies that science is just beginning to catch up. Okay? The principles are there. So again, these are the findings. The reason why this is important, they've given me the award, because it has a significance on how to make the brain young again. Because we can make the brain younger again. It's not a child, but we can make it young. Okay? I will go through that later on. I will skip this because there's a lot of science. So this is, like I said, this is just the press releases, a few of them. The blessing of heeding the word and the counsels of the spirit of prophecy. That's the Youngest Investigator Award. That's another award that we receive. There's another award I receive, another award I receive with a student, and award we receive in the group. So there's quite a few awards that we receive. And as I said, I'm not a genius. It's simply because we followed I follow the Word of God. And it's interesting because my boss is not a Christian, not a believer. But she's very superstitious. She's actually a Buddhist. And once she asked my wife to come because she wanted to talk to my wife as well into the office, into the university. And I thought to myself, I get suspicious. When your boss asks that you're going to speak to your wife, what is she going to tell her? You know what I mean? Anyway, so my wife was there. They were talking in their office. They were laughing. And I was just wondering, what's going on in there? My boss, I mean, she's top at what she does. One of the best at the best. She wants Nobel Prize. That's what she wants. And she will not give anyone more than half an hour if it doesn't serve her purpose. You know, these are people, you know what I'm saying? No way you're going to get an audience with these people if that doesn't serve their purpose. But my wife is in there for 2.5 hours. I said, what's happening? And then when she finally came out, I asked my wife, am I in trouble? Because 2.5 hours, that's long. Anyway, I mean, I'm talking about it would have been okay if there's a lot, you know, like I'm there or somebody's there, but they're alone. That's something else. Anyway, my wife says, I'll tell you when you get home. So it kept me curious all day. Finally, I got home and she says, your boss thinks you have a golden thumb. You know what a golden thumb is? It's a proverb. Whatever you touch with your thumb turns into gold. Because again, we've had so many publications, and it's interesting because, you know, I'm a neuroscientist, but we only allowed 5 weeks vacation normally, and I take almost 3 times more than that. Okay? And I was always paid. She paid it. And it's interesting that I didn't have to ask her for permission whenever I'm away. Because whenever I'm away, it's never for a holiday. I'm doing evangelistic meetings. I'm doing revival meetings, preaching here and there. You ask my wife, because even during our honeymoon, I was doing an evangelistic meeting. We were doing 20 evangelistic meetings with 47 young people. That's our honeymoon. I was together with 47 young people. We were doing meetings like this. That's our honeymoon. And every year, August is always consecrated for that purpose. When my first daughter was born, our first child, I was not there. I was doing a meeting because August is committed to God. Okay? It's committed to God. Nothing will stop it unless I'm dead. Okay? It's non-negotiable. And so when my wife was pregnant and she was going to give birth in August, I looked at her and she looked at me and she said, sweetheart, you need to go. I didn't have to ask my wife. You see, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm still married. And my wife still tells me, when God tells you, go. My point is this: by putting God first at all times, God has blessed us. Amen. Because never, even in the 2021, when I left my work, I didn't have a job lined up. I told my wife, we talked and says, we're going to serve God as a missionary. And we left the height of the pandemic. We left Europe, going to a place we don't even know yet. I felt like Abraham. We left not knowing what salary. I says, no, you know what? God will take care of it. And we were doing mission work for 1 year, just serving community, preaching here, preaching there for me. And we planted a couple of churches for 6 months. And then AWR called me. And I ignored it for another 6 months. I only joined after 1 year of not working for, just doing what God called us to do. Anyway, so now here's another one. Okay, any question on okay, here's another one. Okay, here's another one. I gave you the visual, now the auditory. Music is also used for you to spend more. Okay, there's certain kind of music. That's the reason why malls are never quiet. They always have music. It increases